This is Vince Miller. Thanks so much for joining me for these devotionals. Today we're in the book of Acts, Acts chapter 27. We're closing out the book of Acts, actually, in the next few days, and then we're going to jump into some Christmas devos, and then after that, into the book of Proverbs. So stay with me. Today we're in Acts chapter 27. I'm going to read verses 21 through 26. Here's what happens next. Remember, Paul's on a ship. So since they had been without food for a long time, Paul stood up among them and said, "Men, you should have listened to me." In other words, I told you so. "And not have set sail from Crete and incurred this injury and loss. Yet now I urge you to take heart, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. For this very night there stood before me an angel of God, to whom I belong and whom I worship. And he said, 'Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand before Caesar, and behold, God has granted you all those who sail with you. So take heart, men, for I have faith in God that it will be exactly as I have been told, but we must run aground on some island.'" So remember, as I've said already, Paul is on a ship to Rome with two buds, and their names are Luke and Aristarchus, and he is being guarded and escorted by a centurion named Julius. They board a large boat in Myra that's heading to Rome, and the ship carries almost 300 passengers, but it's having a rough time sailing the winds. This is because it's winter and the winds are blowing in the wrong direction for them to travel northward. They try to make their way along the coast, sheltered by the wind, hoping maybe for that southward wind, but this was not the case. And now they're carried out to deep sea by the northeaster, which is a strong seasonal wind that was treacherous for many ships in Paul's day. So when Paul stands to make this proclamation about their future, the captain isn't sure where they are or what's going to happen to them. They can't head back because of the wind, and there's so much cloud cover, it's difficult to know if they're even heading in the right direction. And the next 14 days, 14 days are going to be very, very challenging. And they have just pitched all their gear and cargo, and the passengers aren't eating to maintain food rations. And then right when hope is waning, Paul gets a visit by an angel who tells him that they're going to be okay, and eventually they're going to wreck on some island somewhere. You know, in life, you could say that no news is bad news, and even bad news sometimes is good news. And that's precisely what happens here. This ship is full of people with no news. I mean, the hull is damaged on the ship from running aground. They pitched all the cargo and gear. They have no idea where they're heading, and even if it's in the right direction. But then Paul gives them some bad news, which is good news, that they'll eventually shipwreck on an island. Now, the reason that bad news is good news is that it's better than no news, right? And right now, people are listening to this devotional, or maybe reading it today, who've been living in the mystery of no news for a long time. You may have no news about a health issue, or maybe a family problem, or marriage difficulty, or sin challenge, or financial crisis. And when you have lived through no news for too long, then bad news can seem like the best news ever, can't it? And guess what? This ship will wreck. It will be destroyed and annihilated, and all the people will have to swim in wintertime, mind you, from a reef to a small island. And I promise you, they are going to be some of the most excited, cold, wet, hungry, shipwrecked people ever. So today, pray for news if you're living in a season of no news. But remember, God may give you news, and it could be perceived as bad news to some people, but it might be good news to you. I love you guys. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, leave a note for me below so I know what to pray for you, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.